is wild to me. It's not the first time that
Mhm.
we have had, a player date, somebody who's really famous or somebody who's really good looking or somebody who's really successful. Why do you think that Taylor Swift moves the needle so much?
Because she speaks to young women in a way that they haven't been spoken to before, and they feel empowered, which is a wonderful thing. I also think it can lead to some serious overreactions and very like fanatical reactions to things that they see. They're super sensitive to everything that happens to and involving Taylor Swift. So it doesn't matter what she's doing. If she's performing in concert, if she's collaborating on something, if she's dating someone, then these Swifties will want to be a part of it and want to follow her and defend her every step of the way. So in their world, this is normal. But I think for people who aren't Swifties, then all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, like, is it always like this? But in that sphere, in that bubble, it is always like that. So I think for someone who has followed her career intently and would consider themselves a mega fan, a Swiftie, whatever, this is standard operating procedure. This is what you do. But now it's going into an area where I would say most guys, I don't want to generalize, there's tons of Taylor Swift fans out there. I like Taylor Swift, but I'm not a Swiftie. And so when you see that sort of passion cross over into an area where I would guess the majority of fans don't share the same passion that you do about this particular artist, even if you may like that artist, I think it's a little jarring. And so I don't necessarily think she's getting more coverage than she normally does. It's just that she's getting more coverage in an area that isn't accustomed to following someone who has such an impact and such a following.
Now we've got Taylor Swift involved. Ever heard of her? So the props that I have seen already, the very first one is, will they get engaged after the game? They, of course, being Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. I am absolutely going to take no on this, because for them to get engaged on the field after the Super Bowl would be too much like a movie. And those odds, the no is minus 250. So I don't know if I'd take that because it's a little bit juicy, but that's what I would pick if I was to choose. So I'd probably stay away from that bet, because I feel like their engagement is going to be, first of all, in the off season. I think it might be more on the private side. The actual what happens will be private, but on the field, it's more about him because this is his Super Bowl win. I think he's going to want to make it more about her. So I think that no is the way to go when it comes to that prop bet. And I do think that they are in love, though. I think that what could happen potentially, if this, I don't know if this could mean a yes or whatever, is they get carried away in the moment and Travis says to her, whispers in her ear, let's get married. What if we get married? Will you marry me? That's the only way I could see this possibly happening, which would be very romantic, I will say. But I would take no on that. And I would, when you look out for the Gatorade color props, look for red, because I feel like there will be some Taylor Swift in these props that maybe the NFL will put into the script of the Super Bowl for red, which is a Taylor Swift color. So Gatorade color, I would look at that.
Lucy, so let me put you in the shoes of Taylor Swift for a second.
Yes, please.
So I'm with you. I am with someone, or I am of the belief that they are in love, that this is legitimate, right? They seem very happy together. It seems like a very sweet romance. So I'm all for it. But let's say in the moment that Travis gets caught up, right? And he gets on one knee and he says, all right, I want you to marry me. The cameras are on and you're Taylor. And I would think if you're her, this isn't how you imagine this going down. And you want to marry him, but you don't want this moment. What do you do?
I would say you say yes and then you write a song about it. Public proposals to me are not the best, like sporting event proposals.
Right.
That's just personally not how I would want it to go down. But I think if that happened to me in the moment, you say yes. And then later on you have the fight / discussion about why did you do that? And what do we do? I don't actually want to marry you, but I had to say yes in the moment because I have seen plenty of Fenway Park proposals that she has said no. And I say plenty. There are like 3 of them in my life that I've seen that not go well, where she says no and they cut the camera away really fast. Never a good thing. It's so bad. So I think if you're Taylor and that happens, you say yes in the moment, and then, I mean, I guess it's different for them because people keep track and people will know if it falls apart or if things go awry, and she then goes back and says no. But I feel like you say yes because she does love the theatrics of a love story. She does love the fact that it's a movie. So if he does do that, I think she would say yes, and she would probably cry and they do the whole thing. And I will say also, I did say at the beginning of this, PR move. And now I will say, maybe I was wrong. And they are in love, because watching those videos of them after the game, that is what it looks like to be in love. What it looks like. I don't know how they feel exactly, but that is what it looks like. And I'm not ruling out, though, the fact that it could have started with PR intentions and developed into true love. We'll never truly know. But I think at this point, we are beyond PR stunt and they are actually in love, which is why it's not a 0% chance that they could get engaged after the game. But I think that it's going to be more of an off-season engagement that is more tailored to her.
Here we go. Brock Purdy. Let's talk about the 49ers and not the Chiefs. He led the 49ers to the NFC title on Sunday. Came back from 17 down. We all know that. The win for Purdy, his 4th playoff victory in just his first 2 years in the NFL. That's second to only Ben Roethlisberger, who won 5 in his first 2 years. But yet still, people aren't giving Brock Purdy his due. Jinx, I got to ask you, it's a pretty impressive number. Are we still kind of sleeping on Brock Purdy?
Yes. No question about it. Everyone's sleeping on Brock Purdy. I went off on this the other day, and those Niners fans rose up and they said, yes, sir, that's right. That's our guy. We're acting like he's just some dude still hanging out in Ames, Iowa that just got brought in by a free agent, some sort of signing, and he's just kind of hanging around San Francisco and just suddenly lucked into winning a Super Bowl. I said this the other day, but seriously, what else do you want from Brock Purdy? What else does he need to do? If you're the Carolina Panthers, and I understand the teams are much different, wouldn't you be thrilled to have a guy like Brock Purdy on your team? Okay, if anyone can quarterback the Niners, why don't you guys just make a trade and bring in Bryce Young? Bryce Young went to Alabama. He's a number 1 overall pick. Oh, he's got a big – go ahead. Just go ahead. Since it's not a big deal what Brock Purdy has done, go ahead and make that trade. You wouldn't do it. You'd be like, absolutely not. This is as good as it gets. Yeah. So he's not going to get his due. And I feel like he was great last week, by the way. When the Niners came back against the Lions, a lot of that had to do with, yes, the Lions made poor decisions. But guess what? Guess who had the gumption and the talent to lead the 49ers back into that game and win it? It was Brock Purdy. If he wins a ring, maybe finally some of that will go away. But yeah, he's still not getting credit at all, which is, by the way, part of the handicap when everyone says Patrick Mahomes is the GOAT. And he is. He's a generational player, and he's so much better than Brock Purdy. Yes, but also Brock Purdy is not chopped liver. So yes, this is still happening. Okay, what is your just take on the Clippers right now, just as a team? Because you can look at NBA futures, and certainly they're one of the teams that continues to move up the board. They have put it together since they made that trade for James Harden. The question is, are you a believer down the stretch for this team?
I actually am this year. I've been a believer in the Clippers for a while, but they haven't obviously been able to stay healthy. I thought they were they were my favorites 2 years ago going into the season, and that did not pan out very well. I mean, if the number was better and betting the Clippers to win the West or even the NBA title right now, I would probably take that. I think they are playing some of the best basketball of any team in the association right now. It's just health. But that hasn't been an issue this year. Kawhi's playing back-to-back nights. Paul George has been healthy, and I think Ty Lue, underrated, is one of the best coaches in the league. Maybe you look at him for coach of the year. Those odds have come down significantly. So I think that's probably your best look, is taking Ty Lue for coach of the year, because I don't think this team is slowing down anytime soon.